So before we get into the main part of this review, let me quickly tell you about Pyramid Quest on the PS4. It's a very, very basic side-scrolling puzzle game that has aspirations of being a platformer. Though you can barely jump, and if you fall too far you die. You might think that's okay, but the height limit from which you can safely drop is frankly pathetic. Enemies are basic, and unless you find these swords you can't even deal with them. Swords, by the way, which you have to throw at them for reasons known only to God. Each level is a short series of one-hit kill death traps, movement is slow and clunky, and the look at the menu screens make me think that this is probably a mobile game that was ported. I don't know, it just has that look to it. I was going to spend all of today's episode talking about the game, but I got too frustrated with the movement and the live system and the dropping that I just had to stop. I just had to step away. It was really pissing me off. I found myself adrift for a few days afterwards. What would I talk about? I guess I could give Eternal Resonance another go, even if it did commit the cardinal sin of calling itself an action RPG but then taking 30 minutes worth of visual novel to finally get there, and even then the combat was basic shit and hardly worth the effort. Then, on a whim, I reinstalled Salt and Sanctuary, a game that I even did a playthrough of on this very channel, though I ended after I think I got lost and I had to stop the playthrough because I couldn't remember where I was going. I think that's what happened. God knows I can't be asked to go back and watch anything from my terrible board gamer phase. It's like when you look at pictures of yourself as a 14-year-old and you end up just cringing yourself to death. Salt and Sanctuary and myself have had a very complicated relationship. I always found a reason to get pissed off and stop playing, but I could never bring myself to actually hate the game. The anger would pass and I'd think, you know what, yeah, it was pretty good actually. Since I now have Demon Souls and Bloodborne beaten, I feel like I'm on a bit of a roll at beating old games that I initially stopped bothering with. So will Salty Sanctuary follow this pattern? Hard to say, I am still playing it. At time of writing this review, I am yet to finish the game. I just beat a giant fire-breathing skelly boy and I'm kinda lost again. But this time, I made it a lot further than I ever did before, and I'm still hooked, so, you know. Anyway, let's start at the beginning. Salt and Sanctuary is Dark Souls, but 2D.
Do you want to build on that, Ronica?
No, it's Dark Souls, but 2D. That's the most accurate description I can give of it was everything it'll tell you that you need to know if you're familiar with the Dark Souls series.
And if you're not?
Oh, fuck you. So, Salt and Sanctuary is a 2D action platformer RPG where you play as an adventurer who is part of a crew on a ship that was escorting a princess to a distant wedding, all with the goal of bringing peace to this warring nation, land, place thing. The ship is attacked by bandits and a Lovecraftian horror, which is one of those typical you're meant to lose this sort of fights. It is possible to beat this thing from what I hear. I've never been able to do it. Anyway, you die and you soon enough wash up on the shore of a strange island. You're given very little direction aside from to start moving right. Eventually you claim your first sanctuary, and these serve as the game's checkpoint mechanics. It's where you rest to heal up, and it's where you can level up as well. From there you go forth on your adventure. Whatever this place is, it's overrun with undead monsters and all these weird beasts. All we can really assume is that if you keep moving right, we'll eventually stumble back onto the plot. So far, this is yet to happen. There are characters around who explain things, but they never really tie back into that whole princess plot. Perhaps that was merely a framing device. I don't know, but honestly, I don't think it matters that much because the game delivers so strongly in the gameplay department that I tend to not notice the lacking narrative. Or maybe I just missed the rest of the narrative. It cannot be stressed enough that I am very stupid. The gameplay is your typical hack and slash Dark Souls-y thing, although it doesn't have the same depth that the Dark Souls and most other Souls-likes have due to the 2D nature of things. You can still block, parry and dodge, so the fundamentals are all here in their usual places. But there is less strategy in it all. Really, all you need to do is get a weapon with a decent amount of reach, and then you can slash most enemies before they can even get anywhere near you. Hitboxes are a little bit messed up. Some enemy attacks look like they shouldn't have hit you, but will hit you anyway. But then some of your attacks will do the same thing to them, so I guess it all balances out in a weird way. I do quite like the combat. If you use swords, you tend to decapitate your enemies when you kill them, which is a rather nifty little feature. Hammers have this very satisfying crunch to them. I really like those. And I just love the animations in general for when the monsters are slain and when you're hitting people. There's so much blood, and like, I'm not usually that overly concerned with the gore of a game, like if the gameplay is solid. You know, as an addition, it's quite nice to look at in a messed up kind of way. It's all very stylish in that dark and brutal manner that I love so much. At first, I didn't really care for the art style. I found it very off-putting. There was something that rubbed me the wrong way about it. However, now I'm in a position where I really appreciate the creepy look that all the characters and enemies have. The environments too. I'd even go so far as to say that this game is beautiful in that lovely bleak and miserable way that is so typically Dark Souls. At the beginning of the game, you build your character. It's not the most extensive system, but it's decent enough. You pick a class and a name. I went for a paladin this time around. You get a nice set of armor, a nice shield, a cool weapon. I like morning stars, they're bloody cool. I did hope to get a miracle to start out with. It turns out I should have gone for the cleric for that, but after a few upgrades and level ups, I could cast miracles and had access to a nice healy one, so it was all good. However, using such prayers and spells needs to be done with a degree of caution. You don't have numbered uses for spells or a mana bar or anything like that. Instead, your stamina bar gets shorter each time you cast one. It does seem to cap after a while, so you won't get to a point where you can't do anything, though you will get to a point where maybe one swing out of your weapon is all you can get before you're tired and an enemy hits you and kills you. It's a bit of an odd design choice. I'd have gone just with the spell use thing on a mana meter. I know they're not really original, but there's a reason they exist. Although maybe this is all done in the name of balance. From what it looks like, it does mean you can't just break the game completely with magic. At least I don't think you can. I'm yet to do a dedicated mage build. I do intend to one day. I'll definitely do a mage build at some point. Might even stream that. That could be fun. But I can appreciate why they tried this, and, you know, it wasn't a huge hindrance. Rather, it just trained me to only use my healing miracles when I really, really needed to, rather than to cheaply crack one off every 8 seconds just because I could. Though it's not the only way in which the game messes with your stamina. Each action you do, it lowers your maximum stamina bar over time. So you get a little more exhausted as you explore, which is a little bit irritating. I mean, it makes sense, but it's a bit irritating. A similar thing happens with your health. Each hit you take, it causes a wounding effect, which lowers your maximum HP bar. It does all come back at checkpoints when you rest, but that means you have to constantly rest if you really want to be in the best state possible to face the game world. It did lead to me grinding and leveling up a lot more, because enemies do the whole respawn when you rest at checkpoints thing, so you can just easily grind them for salt, which is what you level up with. You use salt to level up, hence the name Salt and Sanctuary. Though going back and forth constantly can be a bit of a drag, and some of these enemies have attacks that knock off such a large amount of your maximum HP at a time that you can be forgiven for calling the game out on its bullshit. I nearly did that a few times again. But I guess the health wounding system thing, it's just another instance of player training teaching you to play conservatively. It is a weird system that takes some getting used to, but if you can get into Salt and Sanctuary, it's totally worth it. Like any good Souls-like, your starting class is really more of, well, just a starting class. It's what you get at the beginning of the game, but that's it. You can sort of branch out from there and do whatever you like. The exploration is really strong, with environments having that keen level of verticality that I love so much. I did find it way too easy to get lost in this game. Map might not have been a bad idea to add to the game. Maybe there is one that I've just missed. It is possible. There's a lot going on here, and it's hardly a game-breaking issue to deal with. I'm still playing it, aren't I? So it can't be that big a deal. The boss fights are also worth talking about. They're mostly pretty good. Of all the bosses that I have seen at the time of writing, my favourite so far has got to be the Queen of Smiles in terms of sheer design. She's beautiful in that messed up kind of way. I love how her jaw is hanging open. I love how she's got these swords like floating around her. For actual challenge, the dragon atop the castle, the Kraken Worm, gave me the most grief because he can breathe fire, which causes severe wounding as well as HP damage, and then it bleeds your health for a little while afterwards to add insult to injury. You know, it's a triple fuck you to the player situation. He also had this habit of taking off and leaving the screen to initiate his attacks from afar, and at first this was a constant anxiety fever dream for me because I couldn't see where it was coming from. I didn't know how far I had to run to roll safely, though eventually I did learn the patterns and things got a lot more doable. Again, this is a very Dark Souls move. Bosses and enemies might look terrifying, but once you know what they do and how they do it, you'll realise that there's not as much to be scared of as you think there is. Another Dark Souls comparison I can make is how much this game's lore is hidden within the item descriptions. I have yet to sit down and read it all because there is a lot here and I'm a very bad reader. Even when you open the skill tree to choose a new perk, almost every perk has this lovely long lore entry below it. I respect this. The creator was clearly in love with this project and it shows. Again, it's no surprise that a game made with talent and passion is one that I absolutely adore, you know, compared to the slog that the AAA industry pumps out. It even has a nice little co-op mechanic. See, in Sanctuaries you can place down these icons which spawn NPC vendors. This sort of gives you more incentive to return often. You know, you can place down a blacksmith, you know, so you can upgrade weapons, that's quite good. A merchant and a cleric to buy stuff, it's all good. I like it. One NPC you can get is the sellsword, who lets another player join you. I'll be honest, I never actually tried this because I'm more of a solo gamer, but I can appreciate this. I did some research, by which I mean I asked vaguely around online, and apparently people like it, so yeah, guess it's good. There are some other quickfire things to mention of alternating levels of positivity. I hate how the game has platforms that collapse under your weight when you walk on them. I just think that's a bit overdone when it comes to platformers. And if you jump at them and hit them at the wrong angle, you have to pull yourself onto them, and that costs you precious seconds, and you usually will fall to your death if you have to do that. But I do like how the game has such a strong platforming focus in general, with unlockable abilities that make it more entertaining. After a while, you can wall jump and air dash, you can activate these obelisk things to let you walk on ceilings, or you can hold a torch in front of you to reveal hidden platforms. It organically opens up the game world, which is lovely. It, you know, makes you want to explore. It makes me want to go back and see what I might have missed. It's always a good thing to have. I'm less keen on how most items and spells that heal you, they do it over time. They don't just heal you. You've got to wait for it to all build back up. It does mean that if you're really, really low on health and an enemy attack is coming towards you, all you can do is keep dodging and just hope against hope that there is a moment where you can heal. And a lot of enemies won't always give you this chance, so basically what you have to do is run away from them a little bit, then heal up, then go back. It's a bit irritating, but I suppose again it does It's a matter of player training really, isn't it, at the end of the day? I also really don't like how certain effects can stack. On the one hand, I like how your ring effects can stack. I had 2 rings that increased the amount of salt enemies dropped when they died, which was lovely. But on the other hand, I hate how the status effects, they can stack as well. So I can end up in a situation where I've been poisoned 3 separate times and end up dying in under a second because of it. But if I'm being honest, the things I love about the game far outweigh the things that bother me about it. I'm even going to keep playing after I finish the review to see the ending. I really want to. I hear there is a sequel coming out to this game, and I'm actually pretty excited for that. More so than I am for that Elden Ring thing, if I'm honest. Not that I'm uninterested in Elden Ring, it looks like it could be quite fun. I'm looking forward to seeing what it does. Just at this moment in time, I'm more interested in the cool little 2D Souls-like that I've been playing. It's kind of less impressive when From Software puts out a Souls-like, because, you know, they basically invented the genre. If you are a fan of 2D platformers and you love yourself a good Souls-like I do, then Salt and Sanctuary is a really good option to go for. I mean, my personal favourite is still going to be End the Lilies, because it's really fucking good. Just play that game as well. But a very, very close second at this point. It's gotta be Salt and Sanctuary. I just love this game, it's fucking fantastic. I am so glad that Pyramid Quest and Eternal Resonance sucked so hard so that I could actually come around and play this again. I could get back into Salty Sanct, which is lovely. It's a darkly glamorous game and one that is well worth checking out.
See, you could build upon it. I'm so proud of you.
Aw, thanks imaginary character of mine, you're so good to me. So that was Salt and Sanctuary, bloody brilliant game.